Hey guys, Nick from Mossy Creek bringing you this week's fishing forecast. Today's July 5th. We hope everyone had just an awesome July 4th weekend. Weather was awesome. Hope you got out and did some fishing and floating because it was perfect for it. Looking at this week's forecast, we are, I would say, probably just below average flow in most of our streams right now. The Shenandoah is in awesome shape. Trout streams wouldn't mind getting a little bit of rain, especially as we get up into our mountain streams. So if you look at kind of the 10-day forecast, we got some chances of showers each day. There's also kind of a tropical storm that we're keeping an eye on right off the coast. That could change a lot. If it gets up towards us and pushes offshore, it might not mean anything. If it comes inland, we could get a little bit of rain on Thursday, so that's something we're going to keep an eye out on. To get a little bit more specific about some of those streams, a lot of our mountain streams are getting pretty low. They're not critical. When you're fishing them, you just kind of want to make sure that you're looking for moving water. A lot of those really slow, calm pools, those fish are going to be super spooky. You take one step into the pool and kick a wake across from waiting, and it can alert those fish pretty quickly. So super stealthy on those streams. Fishing beetles and ants, there's still some little yellow stones coming off. Most of your smaller attractor dry flies too will work. Those fish aren't going to be super picky right now. They're pretty opportunistic. If you come, with any of those patterns, you should be able to find some success in those pools where you're not spooking fish. So keep an eye on that. If we go pretty much throughout the entire week with any more substantial rain, they could get pretty low. So kind of fingers crossed for just enough rain to keep those mountain streams cooking. The spring creeks have been fishing pretty awesome considering the water we have. A lot of the vegetation stuff starting to grow up a little bit. So if we get any of those high rains from some of that tropical storm, it could really push out a lot of the moss and make for some off-colored water and great streamer fishing. So that's something to kind of keep an eye out for, depending on what rain we get. Regardless, the terrestrial fishing is getting really awesome. We're seeing a lot of beetles. We're seeing hoppers, some of the small juveniles, but also some bigger hoppers as well. So a lot of fish are looking up. If you go out on the stream right now, specifically like Mossy Creek, some of those spring creeks, you will see a big cloud of bugs, usually just like 10 to 20 feet off the water in the early mornings. And a lot of times what you're looking at is a big spinner fall of trichos. As the morning goes on, those bugs are gonna fall down closer to the surface and fish will start feeding on them. So make sure you have tricho patterns. You can almost count on that pretty much every day for here on out for a while to get fish looking up. Tricho fishing's awesome. It can be really fun to catch fish on really small flies, but it also gets those fish up looking for other bugs as well, beetles, ants. Sometimes you see a fish up, it looks like he's sipping trichos. You might have a pretty hard time passing up an ant or a beetle that's placed well. So don't be afraid, to make your first cast with something like that. A lot of times when we're fishing terrestrials this time of year, what we like to do is try and make our first cast off to the side of the fish or behind the fish. Those beetles and especially those big hoppers make a really obvious plop and splat when they hit the surface, and fish key in on that. And so if you can get a fish who's actively in a rhythm eating bugs to turn and come chase down your fly and eat it a few feet from behind him, you take away the risk of lining that fish. And so just a small little tip for fishing terrestrials this time of year. Don't be afraid to make some short casts and see if you can get that fish to move before you have to fire in there closer to the fish. So dry fly fishing's been awesome. We'll kind of look for that to stay the same. A little shot of rain won't hurt. Like I said, we'll kind of keep an eye on that tropical storm, see what that does. It could change things a lot. So moving on to the river, Shenandoah has been awesome. Right around average flow, it's starting to get clear. Really a good level of water for fish. They can't be too far spread out when the river's really high. They have a lot of places to go. When we get these lower flows, it's a lot easier to kind of target where they're going to be even when they're spread out. So we've had awesome reports of frog fishing in the mornings and even throughout the day. The swimming frog, one of our favorites, super fun eats, easy to cover a lot of water. wiggle minnows, I'd kind of throw in that same category. We're also starting to hear some of our first like dog day summer cicadas. And so boogle bugs have been kind of hard for us to get, and we just got a few more in the shop. So fishing some of those bigger cork bugs can be awesome for imitating some of those guys falling out of the tree. Critter mites also, that fly that does a great job at imitating the hellgrammite. Those hellgrammites are swimming all over the place right now. We're catching lots of fish on hellgrammites. The fish have just been going nuts. So that critter mite, if you don't have that in your box, that's one that we recommend kind of throughout the summer because it's awesome. You can fish them deep and get low, and a lot of those big fish have a hard time passing up a well-placed critter mite. So get out there, enjoy the awesome water. Like I said, kind of fingers crossed for just enough rain from this storm to keep the trout streams in good shape, but not to blow the river up too much. Keep an eye on that. Thursday looks like it's going to be when we may or may not get some of that. Get out there and fish, and we'll see you guys next week.